think we ought to have a little bit of humility in our belief that we know what's best for the economy. And as much as I respect you, Dr. Fauci, I don't think you're the end all. I don't think you're the one person that gets to make a decision.
I have never made myself out to be the end all and only voice in this. I'm a scientist, a physician, and a public health official. I give advice according to the best scientific evidence.
Senator Paul, thanks for joining Water's World. That confrontation, I guess you could call it, with Dr. Fauci at the hearing made a lot of waves across the country. How did you think his response to you was?
Now, Jesse, you live in New York. That's not a confrontation. That was a friendly chat, all right? But here's the thing is everybody says these scientists want to base things on facts. So I simply pointed out a fact. If we're going to keep schools closed, shouldn't we at least discuss what the mortality for children is? The mortality for children 0 to 18 is virtually zero. It's not exactly zero, but it's close to zero. It's 0.0001%. It's very, very small. And this virus is very, very deadly for the elderly and for those who are in nursing homes, but it actually is not deadly at all for those who are young, and we should get them back to school, and we should have a debate over this. Look, this is so bad that I know people in my state that are going to send their kids to grandparents in other states because our idiot governor doesn't want to open the schools. That's what's going to happen is ultimately people are going to move to venues or send kids or even buy, rent an apartment in a state that does not have a draconian shutdown of the schools. That's what this is going to come to.
Yeah, you're also going to see moms across the country take to the streets, and you do not want millions of angry moms mobbing this country because that'll change things very quickly. This unmasking situation, it's kind of something that everybody didn't really know how deep it went, but now it looks like it just happens like 10,000 times a year. But what looks really sinister is that it looks like Flynn wasn't just unmasked, it looks like he was targeted to be unmasked. And that's what it looks like. It looks like political espionage. What can you do about that?
Well, Sin, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It is this unmasking process. It's about bad actors. We had bad actors, Joe Biden and the inner circle of Obama, I think, snooping for political dirt and trying to damage their political opponent. But it's worse than that. Unmasking is so rampant that it's done by the thousands, by all administrations, but it's a backdoor way around the Constitution. If the government wants to listen to your phone calls or my phone calls, the Constitution says they have to have probable cause that we committed a crime. They have to take our name and the reasons to a judge, and they have to present that. And then I'm allowed to have a lawyer on the opposite side, maybe not exactly at the beginning of the eavesdropping, but at some point in time I can protest it. In these secret courts, there's no protesting. No one ever tells you they've even listened to your phone calls. And so it's an end run around the Constitution. And there's every possibility that they began listening to people in order to try to listen to General Flynn, that maybe he wasn't incidental at all, that they were trying to listen to people in order to get back to him. But to have 24 Obama administrations unmask him, I mean, this is crazy. And we have to reform the unmasking, not only get rid of bad people in government who misuse government, we need to reform the processes so many of these easy way of listening to phone calls, we don't snatch up Americans in this.
Do you think that they wanted to get Flynn fired because once he got in there in the National Security Advisor role, he could sniff out all of the dirty things they'd been doing before the campaign?
He'd been involved with defense intelligence. He knew his way around this world. Yeah, so I think that. But I think also there was this malevolence of the Clinton campaign and the Obama people and this hatred of this idea that she lost because they felt that she deserved the presidency and it was just so unfair. But they were going to take him down and they were going to use these powers. But there's a twofold issue and explanation that we need to all understand. It's not just about bad people in government. It's about allowing the power, too much power in government to investigate and hear private conversations. Lots of people talk to the ambassadors from other countries. That doesn't mean that you can listen to every senator or congressman or journalist who talks to a foreigner. Just by tapping into the foreigner, you're allowed to listen to the American. So what I've been saying all along is we need to get Americans out of this world of spydom. And if you want to investigate or listen to an American, you really should go to a regular court, a constitutional court, and you should ask a judge for permission. They had no permission to listen to Flynn's conversation.
Well, and you remember what they did with the FISA court. They fabricated evidence, and that was rubber stamped. So I think either way you cut it, it looks like abuse of power, ironically, what they impeached the president for. I'd like to know if your name was ever unmasked, any of your Senate colleagues. I'd like to know if Jared Kushner's name. I mean, this is just a 3-month period during the transition that they zeroed in on this incoming administration. I'd like to see the last couple years.
I was asking about this 2 years ago, and I was asking people in the Senate on the Intel Committee, what about this? What about this? And they said, oh, we looked at all of it. All of it was on the up and up, and all of it was fine. Well, it's not on the up and up to have 16 members, including the vice president, unmasking the private phone call of a new Trump administration official talking to an ambassador. So you're supposed to allege a national security reason. What were their reasons? So if the journalists on the left who get to interview Joe Biden, because I don't think he's coming on Fox News anytime soon, but if the journalists on the left were worth their salt, they would ask Joe Biden, what was the national security reason that you unmasked Flynn? They should ask Clapper that. But then again, Clapper's a notorious liar, so he will probably simply lie to them. You know, Clapper was the one who lied about the bulk collection of all our phone records. On the Senate, in a Senate committee, under oath, Clapper said, we're not doing it. And then, you know, a month later, Edward Snowden revealed that, yes, they were collecting millions and millions and millions of the information on our phone calls.
Yeah, and this is a pattern with the Obama administration. They spied on the AP, they spied on the Senate, they spied on a Fox News reporter, and it looks like they spied on the entire Trump campaign. So, Senator Paul, why don't you have one of your friendly conversations with some of these people behind the scenes and change their minds? Thanks for coming on Water's World.
Thanks, Jesse.